Hey everyone, thanks for coming back to another segment of Michigan Conservative Roundtable. I have Kim to my left, Mac is to my right, my name's TJ, and we are the Michigan Conservative Roundtable. So, just recently, a boatload of Democrat wannabes bowed out of the whole primary season. I have some thoughts, but we have three remaining, actually two, but technically three. Tulsi Gabbard, for whatever reason, has chosen to remain in the mix, but it's going to be primarily Biden and Sanders at this point on. And I've always thought that, because some people say, well, gee, if this guy never had a chance, why did he run? Why did he waste his time? Why did he waste his money? And everyone has their own personal, selfish reasons. The short answer is resume enhancement.
Right.
Resume enhancement. Whether you get money in the speaking tours, you can put on your resume presidential whatever, for the Democrat nominee and blah blah blah. And I think some of them do it to enhance their position for a more local type of election.
Yeah.
Because it gets them popular. So then when they revert back to a local office election, that many more people would know of them, and a lot of times it's all about name recognition.
A governor running for the Senate.
Yeah, that kind of stuff. The Democrat field started with, I don't know the exact number, but I know it was over 20.
Right.
And like I said, technically it's down to 3, but in all practical purposes 2. Thoughts so far?
Well, I think a lot of people think they're headed to a brokered convention, which means the nominee could be anybody. Earlier, as we were setting up, I noticed that people are clamoring for Hillary to get back in because they think she can beat Trump. I don't think there's a snowball's chance in hell she can beat Trump, especially after her sore loser tour.
Yeah, when she went out there and did her little crybaby tour.
Yeah.
I don't think Hillary stands a chance.
No.
No, she burned that bridge, as the saying goes. Well, what I wanted to do is I wanted to bring up Bloomberg in particular, Mike Bloomberg, because I have some real concerns about this guy, even though he's no longer seeking the Democrat nomination. The whole irony to him right from the start was he used to be a Republican. Yeah. If I'm not mistaken, and I didn't think to research this prior. I'm Mr. Encyclopedia here. Will correct me. I think he was the mayor after Rudy Giuliani, wasn't he? Yeah, and so it was almost like you had a Republican following Rudy, and I think he rode Rudy's coattails into that office.
Right.
But anyways, in looking up Mike Bloomberg, something nauseating. I came across something nauseating. He was referred to as a philanthropist.
Okay.
A philanthropist. And
Soros too.
And well, you're swerving into what I wanted to bring up here, but a different word came to mind: oligarch.
Yeah.
And I looked up the definitions of a philanthropist and oligarch, and the short answer to philanthropist was a person who seeks to promote the welfare of others, especially by the donation of money to good causes. Well, with Bloomberg, that's a stretch. Okay.
Well, but he's going to claim getting rid of guns is a good cause, getting rid of diet sodas is a good cause.
Yeah.
And I would say, I guess you could make an argument for either, although I think the gun issue's weak. But because he's doing it for the good of others. He's doing it not in the same sense that the Salvation Army might donate food or clothing to people who are in need, but he's doing it because they don't know any better. He's the one who's got to fix it for you.
Sounds like a guy with a control issue to me.
Yeah, me too.
Well, I looked up the definition of oligarch because I wanted to be able to draw a distinction between the two.
Right.
And the definition I came up with for oligarch was a very rich person with a great deal of political influence. Well, he sure
That's
fits
Bloomberg.
the bill.
Yeah.
He sure fits. assuming that that definition is on mark, and I believe it is, you know what? Exhibit A, Virginia.
Even if
okay?
he didn't have it, which he clearly does because of Virginia, he certainly wants it.
Well, and I had I'd phoned up Mac a week or so ago over something I'd heard on the radio. For us Michiganders here, I'm sure most everyone is familiar with Paul W. Smith. He does the morning talk show, and I think it's like from either 5 to 9 or 5:30 to 9 or somewhere in that time frame. And I just coincidentally had him on at 5:45. Actually, I had it on to listen to the 2-minute blurb of Rush Limbaugh, but they preempted it for whatever they all had going on WJR. But Paul W. Smith, he's talking to a guest on his show, and I failed because I turned it on after they had started. I was unable to get the guy's name, but the guest is talking to Paul W. Smith, and he's talking about Mike Bloomberg and the extent of his activities. And at the time of the interview, Mike Bloomberg had spent, it was believed to be an estimated $500 million. And now they believe it could be closer to $600 million.
Right.
But at that time, the guest was saying, yeah, he spent about $500 million. And he goes, $10 million of it has been in Michigan. And he said, and a lot of it has gone toward, and he cited that Michael Bloomberg has 60 paid full-time staffers working on his. At that time, he was still seeking the nomination, so they were working toward his Democrat nomination. But then he makes the comment. The guest makes the comment. Even if he doesn't get the Democrat nomination, he expects them to stay on staff, getting paid, pursuing political agendas. And as soon as I heard that, I thought Virginia. This is Virginia all over again. 5:45 on a Friday morning, listening to Paul W. Smith, and all of a sudden I'm thinking, holy cow, we're the next Virginia.
Yeah. Well, Michigan is a battleground state, and
we got just enough goofballs that could buy into his nonsense.
The president only won Michigan by about 10,000 votes, which is.
I think Bloomberg's fully aware of it.
Yeah, I'm sure he is.
In any event, yeah, I'm just worried. You look at Virginia, and in a year or two, is that going to be us?
Very possibly. I just found out the other day, I didn't know that Michigan, did you know that you can register to vote on the day of the election?
Yeah.
I was a little bit taken back.
That's garbage. There's no vetting time.
There's no vetting time
Right.
on that. So, how many votes are not legitimate votes?
Well, I haven't been in a Detroit precinct, so I can't say this for a fact, but I suspect that all kinds of shenanigans go on in that city.
Yeah.
I know at least in this last election, one of the candidates, low-level candidates, didn't really, I can't remember her name off the top of my head, but she called for a recall in 3 or 4 states, basically the states that flipped Trump's way, and she wanted to do recounts and do what they do, which is always find more votes or harvest more ballots. And, in this closet, in this trunk, and under the dishwasher at the cafeteria, we found these votes. And it always comes out to be just what they need to win.
And when you think of Detroit in Wayne County, then you got, and even though Pontiac's in Oakland, I'm always worried about what's going on in Pontiac. You got Flint, you got Saginaw, just havens of corruption. Lansing, that's Democrat too. I mean, when you think of those cities alone, you're thinking, oh my gosh, I'm sure they'll come up with whatever amount they need.
Yes.
Yeah. So we're looking at easily influenced, I believe, cities.
Yeah.
With money being poured into these cities by people like Bloomberg.
Yeah.
I think these areas we're going to be needing to look at closer and watching closer.
Yeah.
Well, in any event, in regards to Bloomberg and his pursuits prior to him getting out of the race, and I'm sure you guys remember hearing this, in that last debate, he had a little slip of the tongue. Remember where he he was having a back and forth with somebody, and he was talking about the efforts and the money he had spent, and basically, through a slip of a tongue, said he was kind of claiming credit as to how he was saving the Democrat Party and how he bought those candidates. But he kind of caught himself. It was almost like it slipped out, and he tried to kind of snag that last consonant so that the full word wasn't said. But he said enough, and I was like, aha, all right, we know what's going through your head,
Right.
you know, and basically claiming how he's got this, going to the fact he's an oligarch,
Right.
You know, something too is that you see Bloomberg and you got to wonder, what does he have against Trump? Because he seems to have a personal grudge.
Well, they're both New Yorkers, and
And
who
they're-
knows what's transpired over the years.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've always had to wonder if jealousy wasn't part of the pursuit. If President Trump could do it, so can I.
Something.
I mean, people do, and it goes to condescension and arrogance from their mindset. Like, okay, there we go. Anyways, you got condescension and arrogance, thinking, oh, if Mac can shoot a 2-inch group at 100 yards, so can I.
Right.
Something like that maybe. But anyways,
Don't hold your breath.
yeah. One more thing, another thing I wanted to mention is, did you hear about his coronavirus political ad?
I haven't seen
No,
it.
I
Mike
haven't seen it
Bloomberg.
either.
Mike Bloomberg did a coronavirus political ad, and this is before he got out, okay?
Okay.
And they had it a little blurred, or from the picture I saw, it appeared blurred to kind of maybe, so you wouldn't be able to make out the finer details. But it had if you looked at the picture, you would have thought he was in some kind of presidential residence.
Really?
Yeah.
Really?
No, in other words, and he didn't say he was in the Oval Office, but it had an effect of a presidential residence to it. And they had it blurred, so,
Right,
that gave him some, deniability is, well, we didn't try to make it look like the Oval Office. Well, but you made it look like he was some president of a third world country, maybe,
Which, maybe that's what he ought to go do.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm in
So,
agreement.
anyways, these are just some things. Even though Bloomberg is out of the nomination process and Bernie Sanders is still in, right now I'm more worried about Bloomberg's effect than Bernie Sanders.
Because he's propping up down ballot candidates, which
well, that's
a big deal.
and that's why I said this is Virginia all over again here.
He's paying. He's buying.
Oh, he's buying.
candidates.
He let it slip.
we already have the nightmare of Rashida Tlaib in Michigan. We don't need any more of that ilk.
Oh, for sure. Anything else, guys?
No, I don't
Nope.
think so.
Okay, so that's it. Those are our thoughts. I'd just like to say to our brothers and sisters out there in Michigan, don't fall asleep or we'll be the next Virginia, okay? So, as we like to say here on the Michigan Conservative Roundtable, be safe, watch your six, and to all you Bloomberg wannabes, don't tread on me.